Hey there friends on YouTube, it's the JTL, I'm back again. And today I've got a quick video for you, hopefully quick. I always try to make them quick, but sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men. And I am a little bit of both. Today I'm going to talk about smartwatches, and in particular smartwatches other than the Apple Watch, which I have to admit I have a little bit of a geeky Jones for an Apple Watch, but the price tag, even for someone like myself, is difficult to justify. That is. In the meantime, you know, to satisfy my geek Jones, pardon me while I partake of some coffee, I decided to look into a couple of the more universal and or Android versions of said product. And what I'm going to talk about today is the Moto 360, particularly the Moto 360 with the metal band. As you can see here, this is a it's telling me I'm supposed to pay a bill. How nice. I've used this now for about 3 weeks and worn it just about every day, and have to admit that I really have been enjoying the use of it. One thing that I really like is that whereas I had a Samsung Galaxy or Gear, the first Gear, Samsung Galaxy Gear, I found it very sort of fidgety and problematic in terms of how it integrated with my devices. So this has been a lot better. Now I know that in some of the early reviews that I read of this device or that I watched on YouTube, a lot of people were saying that the Android Wear system was not quite ready for prime time. But in my experience in the past 3 weeks, it being now May of 2015, Android Wear seems to be pretty well up to spec and running pretty reliably, and I have been enjoying the use of this watch. The things that it does well, I really enjoy the ability to grab notifications off of my phone without being able to, without having to grab my phone and look at it. I enjoy being able to respond to text messages with voice. I enjoy being able to, access things that I normally would use my phone for, and be able to deal with them right here on the device. And also the ability to use OK Google functionality. See, it's actually OK Googling right now because I said that and it's listening to what I'm saying, so I'm going to try and stop it. When driving, I mean, I can access my phone on my car. I can access my phone because it's mounted, on a dashboard mount that I have. But just being able to say OK Google and tell it who to call, and then it calls, is a really great feature. So that's been really fantastic, and I have been able to take advantage of that quite a bit. The other thing I like about this compared to some other smartwatches that I've seen or that I've used myself is that it has this Qi wireless charging. So you just drop this guy on here, and when it's plugged in, it actually tells you what the battery charge level is, what time it is, and it stays at a low light state so that you can use it as a, like a bedstand clock or something like that. You can also set alarms with this and it'll vibrate to notify you. So anything that you can do with Google now, you can do with the Moto 360. And for that, I think it really is becoming more and more feature rich all the time and more usable. That to me is the key of the smartwatch. It's great if it has these features, but if it doesn't work well, if it doesn't integrate well with your daily use, and you have to fiddle with it in order to get it to do what you want it to do instantly, then it's not worth having. I will say that for the most part, this guy has been really reliable, has done what I expected it to without having to fiddle with it, and for that I think it's completely worthwhile to buy it. Things that I don't like: it's a little tall on my wrist. The size, for me, I have decent sized wrists and big hands, so it doesn't seem too large for my wrist, but it's tall, as you can see here. And the problem with it being tall is that it catches on shirt cuffs and coat sleeves. It just feels a little odd. Also, it has a regular button here that acts like the button or the the winding dial on a regular wristwatch, but when I sort of like to wear it so that it's down here on the I guess, the joint of my wrist. And so when I put my hand down, there's some times when it'll press this button, and that becomes problematic, although it hasn't been a huge deal. Other than that, I mean, like I said, I've used the Galaxy Gear S. I have also used the Pebble, which I have. I got this Pebble. I only got the Pebble because it was $99. And I figured at $99, how bad could it be? You know, even if it's not super awesome and useful, it will be $99 worth of awesome and useful. How would this compare with the Moto 360? Pebble versus Moto 360. Moto 360 is definitely more feature rich. It definitely dives deeper into being a companion to your phone than the Pebble does. It depends on what you want. If you want something that's going to notify you when something comes into your phone, that's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on with your phone so that you don't have to look at it, then the Pebble is fine. It's going to give you all your notifications. It's going to give you the ability to see what's going on. It's going to give you some fitness tracking. It's going to give you a lot of different things. And it's very light. This plastic version, this is the Pebble OG version. It has this TPU band, which is nice enough. I find that with rubberized bands and that kind of thing, my wrist tends to sweat and it becomes uncomfortable, and then I'm not enjoying wearing the watch. Where it's not that big a deal with the metal. The big difference is this is $99, as I said, and it gives you a lot of functionality. There's no OK Google integration. There's no any of that. You can't talk to it. It won't talk back to you. It doesn't make any noises. It doesn't do anything. It notifies you when you're getting a telephone call. It notifies you when you get a text message. It gives you the preview of that message. Email, Facebook, whatever notifications you can get on your phone can be ported over to this, and you can get at least some kind of preview of what's going on there. But this does a lot more. This is $99. The metal version of the Moto 360 is $300. So let's put this into perspective. $99 is an impulse purchase for a lot of people who are going to be in the smartwatch market. You know, $99 is not a ton of money for a piece of technology. $200 to me is sort of a sweet spot for a piece of technology. $300, however, starts to edge up to, well, you know, you have to consider that purchase. You can get the leather band version of this for $249, and that's a little bit more reachable, a little bit closer to that $200 sweet spot that I like. But it is still a considerable amount of money for something that may or may not be what you're looking for in terms of a companion device to your phone. When it comes to watches, this is the closest thing to a watch that has all that functionality, that is stylish. I think a lot of the other smartwatches don't style well. I'm more of a traditional guy when it comes to style, so I like that this is a more traditionally styled watch that happens to be a smartwatch. Now, let's talk about this versus the Apple Watch. To me, the biggest thing is that this is $300, the Moto 360. A comparable Apple Watch that is having metal construction, metal band, etc., etc. Comparable Apple Watch, $799. $799 for something that has the comparable styling and accoutrement of this guy. So again, that brings me back to how far out of whack Apple's pricing structure is. If you can't make a product that is within the reach of the consumer that you're targeting, if you're making a product that's $800 and your device costs $800, completely out of whack. We don't even need to go into talking about friggin', you know, the gold watches and all that kind of stuff. $500 extra if you want to go for an Apple Watch. So, but, you know, Apple apologists, and I am sometimes one of them, but, you know, I use Apple devices every day. In this arena, I think Apple is way gone crazy. So let's talk about the Apple Watch Sport, which is the entry-level model. And the comparable device would be the Pebble here. Pebble's $99. Or you can even say Pebble Steel. Pebble Steel is now, I think you can get it for $150, right? Versus the Apple Watch Sport. Now, yes, do they offer the same kinds of functionality? No. Are they the same devices in their basic structures? Yes. Apple Watch, I'm sure, is far and away a better device when it comes to craftsmanship and technology, etc. But that being said, $99 versus $400. So again, you have that huge gap. I had to resize this band to another link or two to get it to fit my wrist, which was a fiddly process that they suggest you go to a jeweler and have it done, and I just wasn't going to do that because it fits well, it works well, it does what I want, and it doesn't make me, you know, sort of stop what I'm doing to get it to do what I want it to do, which I think is a key factor when it comes to smartwatches. Moto 360, a lot of people ask, now that it's a little long in the tooth, is it worth picking up? I'd say it depends on who you are. If $300 isn't a huge stretch for you to make the jump into the metal band version, then no, it's not. I mean, it's a nice product, it works well, it has a few little quirks in its design that bother me, but they're not deal breakers. At $250, the leather band version is nice, and you can get this metal band to go with it, although it's $80 a la carte as opposed to an extra $50 when you buy it on the watch. The Pebble, for those of you who just want to jump into the smartwatch game, want to get some notifications, want to have a little bit of added functionality to your phone, highly worth that $99. And if you're thinking about an Apple Watch, my advice, my thoughts, the way that I feel right now, and that could change tomorrow, the pricing structure is just way too far out of whack. What they're giving you for what they're charging is not representative of how you should have to pay for that. $800 for the official version of the Apple Watch is too much. Maybe I'd change my mind if I actually used one, but I've only seen one in the wild so far. Out here in Iowa, we don't have a ton of Apple Watches. Oh yeah, and I should say one thing that I wanted to point out about the Moto 360 in terms of battery life is that early videos really sort of ragged on it for battery life, especially if you had ambient mode on, and I found that my battery life has been better than I could have expected with the 360. I get down to 30 or 20% with ambient mode on just about every day. Every night I take it off, I drop it on the Qi wireless charger, use it as a nightstand clock, and the next day I'm good to go. So I have no battery life problems whatsoever, and I use it liberally. So your mileage may vary, of course, but that's a little bit of a, just a little bit of extra thought about the 360 if you're considering one. That's it for today. A 15-minute video about me talking about watches. Hey man, if you're watching this and you enjoyed it, I appreciate that. Give me a like or a subscribe. Drop me a comment with whatever you think about these things. Otherwise, thanks for being here. I'll be back again soon with another video. This is the JTL, and I am out.